listeners here. You asked me about speed of delivery versus tech debt. Is that a good place to go?
Yes.
All right. So you're obviously, from what you wrote me, you're wrestling with the question: how do you balance how much tech debt to accumulate versus how fast to ship, right? And
Correct.
I would say a startup is different than like Kristen's here. She's working for a somewhat startup company, but one that's a little bigger and more stable. There are some differences. Um, so I have a few opinions here. Um, the first thing I will say that's just true is at a startup, speed versus tech debt um, leans towards speed. Because in the end, if you ship a good product with a lot of tech debt, you'll have money and customers, and you can try the horrible scramble to dig out of that problem. But if you ship too late with low tech debt and a beautiful product, you'll be bankrupt. And so you have to no, I mean that's the trade-off, right? So the first
Yeah.
thing I would say is at a startup, you lean towards scrappy and messy. Um, is my high level advice. But now I have some things that will help you a little more. And the first thing I would say is, well, obviously, what I want to tell you first is, oh, see, wouldn't you like to know there are these magic solutions where you don't have to make this trade off? You can have everything you want. That would be like, oh, thank you, Ethan. That's the coaching I was looking for.
I wouldn't ask the question if such magic solutions existed in the
Well,
world.
but there is something that approximates it a little bit, which
Okay.
is you must remember this from working for me at Amazon, sadly. How much software did we build that never got used or that turned out to be fairly useless compared to what we imagined? Would you say some, a fair amount, none?
Very little, I would say.
Interesting. Because, uh, so apparently I'm really good at this. Woo! Um, no, the point is, actually, I can explain why that was. What software did you see us build in your job there? What were you the customer of? What were we building?
Ingestion.
Yeah, ingestion, but specifically, the point I'm not going to play 20 questions to get you there. Your team did things manually, and then we automated it, right?
Yeah.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, when Mugendra worked for me, he managed several hundred people, and they started out doing very manual work. And over time, we looked at like what was taking up all the time, and we automated that work away. Well, this goes to my point about how you avoid somewhat the speed versus tech debt trade off. Specifically, we knew what to build for you because we could see it in action. And so we already knew what you were doing and we knew what needed to be changed. Like we had a perfect laboratory. Going to the point for you, what before you make this horrible speed versus tech debt trade off, which you will have to make, what can you test? The best thing you can do, if you can, is try to trial your software. You can do it through design thinking. You can do it on paper. You can do it manually. You can do it with all kinds of prototypes. The point I'm really getting at is uh, what can you do to avoid building a lot before you know what to build? And the reason that matters is uh, you don't have to waste that effort then. And so it reduces any effort saved, lets you get out of jail on speed versus tech debt. So the thing I would recommend to you is first, can you test some of this, including paper tests, human tests, whatever? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, second thing, you may remember from Amazon, we had this concept of one way doors versus two-way doors. Is this
Yeah.
reversible? So, for those who don't know, Amazon has this concept, which Mugendra remembers, which is some things are a two-way door. If you go and do them, you can pretty easily undo them. And some things, once you do them, you're really stuck with them. So, the best example of this is lowering price. Let's say I had started this channel and said only subscribers can chat. And so if you want to participate in our community, everybody's going to have to pony up $5. That's how it's going to be. And we built a community, and some people subscribed and some people had to stay silent, but whatever. You can lower that price. You can always come back and say, good news, I'm making chat free. But what I couldn't do very easily is once I've advertised my channel, because if you go to my webpage and other places, it says telling you what you need to improve your career for free. If I came and said, oh, it's been free, we've been doing it a year, but now everybody has to pay, there would be rebellion and chaos. So the point is, you can lower price, but you can't raise it. And so it's like a one-way door. Where this matters in your question of speed versus tech debt, Mugendra, is know what type of tech debt you're making. Is it stuff you can clean up, or is it stuff that's like architecture or deep in your system assumptions? And so basically, it's okay to make a pile of tech debt that won't require you to like throw away your product and start over. It's bad to make tech debt that's going to be very heavy. And so my point is, all tech debt's not created equal. And I can't get deeper into that without knowing your architecture, but it's really important. It's one thing to go fast and like leave a bunch of loose ends, corner cases or whatever. Like, it's very different. For example, this is important. It's very different to leave second priority features not implemented. No logging, for example. That's a bad practice. But you can go add logging than it is to build something in a hack. Like, oh, we're going to store all the data in flat files that get deleted. Well, then there's no way to get it back. And so it's what kind of tech debt are you making, and what's the cost to fix it? The last thing I would say, and this is my last piece of advice on this, you can ask me any other questions you have on it. Obviously, can you modularize? The more modular your software, the more, if something has tech debt, you can rip it out and replace it. So those are my main arguments. Coming back to speed versus tech debt, most startups do what it takes to survive, and so they favor speed. And pretty much every startup, for example, Amazon has ever acquired, has then stalled, because the first thing they want to do once they feel they've made it and they've been bought is spend a year cleaning up their mess. So that's just like, no, I'm being like dead honest, right? That's what happens is they're like, oh, now we're part of Amazon. We have the money. Hey, we're going to need like a year to re-architect. And of course, we're very unhappy, but we've learned this is true.